Episode 22 of the Chillness Room. Hi, everyone. Kira Schaefer here. Let's see. There's been a lot happening, I think, in the world. It's April 30th. I'm not going to get into all those particulars, but I would like you to know that if you are struggling with some of the things that have been going on uh, in the year of our Lord 2026, I am hearing you. I'm with you. I love you. And it's going to be okay. Right? We're going to make it through. We're going to make it through all the things and it's going to be better and everything is going to be all right. I promise. It's got to be, right? It's got to be. So, on that note, I was I just went to go get a coffee and at this coffee store. And some of you know I've studied all different types of things for the last 25 years in the healing field and the metaphysical field and the group work around psychology, personal development, Eastern religions, and all kinds of things over the years. And it was interesting because I was there getting my coffee and I overheard a barista say, yeah, sometimes I meet someone um, and I'm like, God, I would follow them into a cult. And I thought to myself, what an interesting thing to say. And then I was like, what an interesting thing to say. And she said, oh yeah. I said, yeah. So you're telling me that, you'd meet somebody and you'd be like, wow, I really like you. I'd follow you anywhere. She was like, yeah. And I go, but in a cult though. And she goes, yeah. And I go, okay. I said, maybe my definition of what a cult is and what yours is maybe a little bit different. And, she said, well, actually, I study cults and religions and all that kind of stuff at OSU. And I was like, wow, which is the college right down the street from us, Oregon State University. And I said, oh, that's great. What are you wanting to use that for? Do you have any plans on what you want to do with that? And she goes, yeah, I want to be a professor. She wants to teach it. And the overwhelming urge that I have as somebody that can be like a bold-faced, egotistical, arrogant person who thinks she knows everything is, in this moment, sitting here, basically talking to someone that was seeking and discovering and learning, and the overwhelming urge that my ego has to be like, well, let me tell you what I know about everything having to, but it was almost like everything was collapsing in on itself in my brain of, I have 13 seconds right here to I guess divulge the mysteries of the universe. And it was like this moment of clarity of every single person that when I was that age that I talked to about what I was learning. Not everybody knew about what or understood any of the things that I was learning about or talking about or whatever. But many did. And they just let me go. They just let me talk. They just let me discover on my own. They just let me figure it out for myself. They just let me be who I was and talk it out. And it was so funny at 47 years old. And I've had this realization before, but it just hit in a different way of how generous and gracious they were to kind of let me explore and talk about things and perspectives of things without criticizing me or judging me or saying I was wrong or making me feel like I had I'm learning it differently than I should be. And instead of saying any of that, which I had no right to do anyway, um, I said, tell me what you mean by cult. And she goes, "Oh, well, like communal space where people can get together and connect on really wonderful ideas and understand things at a deeper level." And she said the word cult just has a really bad kind of connotation to it, but the underlying elements of it can be really good. And I said, "You're absolutely right. They can be." Um, I'm a child of the 80s, so a cult meant something very different during that time for me than maybe it would for you as you're learning it from this, you know, perspective. And she said, "Yeah, I said, think about it like Jonestown or, Waco or, and then she started to kind of put together the things that she was learning about and what I meant by my perception of what it is. And I said, so sometimes that word can be a little bit problematic. I said, but I love that communal space and connection and understanding people's perspectives about things is really important. And she started talking some more about it, and we were just kind of connecting. We didn't have much time, and I didn't want her to feel like she needed to have this conversation with me. But I said, this is great. And she goes, "Yeah, thank you for letting me talk." And I was like, that's right, Kira. You don't have to always be the one talking. And besides this stuff, I don't generally, talk a ton, but um and I definitely wouldn't want my beliefs and opinions to be forced upon someone else, which, has its own, I don't know, levels of things. But it was also very kind of interesting that um when she said she was studying it, that a part of my brain also went into this strange, like, imposter syndrome thing where, well, I'm not officially studying it. So what do I really have to offer here? So it was such an interesting, like I said, kind of collapse of all different types of information and materials and understanding and wisdom and insights that suddenly said, well, maybe those insights aren't actually good enough because she actually is studying it in this, format. And I'm like, okay. so so it's so interesting to have this flip-flop between Dunning-Kruger, which is that I know everything, and imposter syndrome happening simultaneously, and feeling the kind of release of, who am I really in this conversation, and releasing all of the expectations of what I think I should be doing or saying because I have knowledge, I think. And then instead going, what would I most want to feel if I were in her shoes? And what was I lucky enough to feel when I was in her shoes? And since I don't have kids, I never really had the opportunity to know. This is such an interesting thing. I mean, I've worked with kids, and I've, all that kind of stuff as far as like in my clinic, my practice, my, you know, um, working as someone who would care for kids, nannying, all that stuff since I was a kid. But I was like, wait a minute. When parents talk to kids, they know everything kids know. Kids probably aren't bringing too much new stuff to them about how to tie shoes or what is in orange juice, or whatever. So I think it's kind of fun and interesting to look at it from that point of view, where I'm having to humble myself and say, wait a minute. Wait a minute, Kira. You don't, first of all, you don't know everything. Secondly, um, what can you do in this situation that will continue the process of this person's learning while not um, being this egotistical, arrogant jerk face that I'm certain I can be from time to time. maybe not outwardly, maybe you don't all see it, but internally, I'm constantly questioning myself. So, but anyway, the answer to that question is ask a question. Help me understand your point of view, because you may have a different point of view than I do. And even though you are younger than I am, you're starting your journey, you're in the process of understanding things at a deeper level, and you're wanting to learn and grow. I'm going to tell you the best teacher in many ways is going to be you experiencing your own learning externally with a friend, or someone that you're just wanting to express with. So the thing that I felt I felt the best about was when she said, "Thank you for letting me talk," because that's what she said to end our conversation. "Thank you for letting me talk." So she may not get the opportunity to express all of this stuff about what she thinks about cults, or what she thinks about communal spaces, or any of that kind of stuff. Whereas I have almost gotten suckered into a couple of cults along the way. I've also had to defend organizations that are not cults to help people understand that these are really beautiful places for people to, expand their mind and their spirituality and their understanding of themselves, because cults are very much around stripping your identity, building you up in their own image, and then, having you perform their rights of belonging. And so that's something that's different. But if you're in an environment where you get to have your own thoughts, your own thinking, your own awareness, your own understanding of things, and that's in a group setting, then that's kind of that's a bit different, where there's not just necessarily a figurehead, although there could be, or there could be multiple people where, you just trust that they're someone you can learn from and can grow from, can understand from, and can understand yourself better as an individual, but not as a hive mind group, mindset, other than maybe some foundational fundamental principles that are better for living, and like, for example, Course in Miracles. For me, yeah, you can go into a group and learn Course in Miracles, and they could have a very, um, you know, stringent, dialed in way of um, teaching the material, and also um, living that material. And I've just never seen a Course in Miracles group say you have to do it this way or you're out of this group. There would be nothing that would make me run so fast from a group than to say this is the only way. And if you don't do it this way, you are shunned, or um, you're not going to be allowed here. It's like, okay, then I'm not allowed here, and that's completely fine with me. you know, um, so there's definitely a difference there. And so when she explained it from her point of view and perspective, it was much clearer for me. And I liked that she held her own in her own belief of what she felt it was, instead of her just going, oh, okay, um, and that's what I've noticed the most around in this town, is that which we're in Corvallis, Oregon. And like I said, it's a college town. And one of the things that I've noticed, that even if you push back on a comment or an idea or a belief that someone might be having, even if you kind of say, well, help me understand why you feel that it's that way, they get very clear and direct with their response. These are like college kids, right? They're very clear and direct with their response. They may not be completely informed about what it is, but they are committed. to what their insight is about what they know so far, which I think is a great thing. I was myself, and then I've learned and grown and developed, right? But I like it because I have tended to be that person that will go, well, whatever you think must be real, must be the truth. And I've learned that sometimes we do need to stick to what we hold dear, the truth that is true always, and don't second guess that, you know. Now, when somebody gives me their opinion, I know that that opinion can change with some additional information. Now, it may not be changed today. It may not be changed by whatever I say or contribute to that experience, but it can be shifted. But when you have a true principle, like knowing what love feels like when it's unconditional, that there's nothing expected of you from in any way, shape, or form, and that you don't have to perform in order to get or receive love, and that love is freely given and freely received. That's the truth that's true always. And you can match it up against situations in which there's an expectation and know that it's not love. So if you can match something that's true always, with something that is not that, and it will collapse that thing every single time, we know that it's the truth. So that's really cool. But allowing yourself to be inside of someone else's understanding, and number one, not losing sight of what your truth is, what your beliefs are in that particular situation, because you know it, because you've faced it so many times in so many different ways, that you can still have a conversation without really shifting much in what you hold to be true, you know? And so I like that they stick to their awareness, but I also know that that awareness can change over time in certain situations and that kind of thing. So it's fun to watch someone push back, and just a little bit. You know, it's nothing big, it's nothing scary or hairy or anything like that. It's just like, yeah, I don't like that. Okay, you don't like that. Help me understand why. And then they'll tell you why. And you're, well, okay. So if it's like that, is it like that always, or are there ever situations where you may not feel like that? And then it just becomes an information gathering kind of experience where you're just learning about what somebody else feels about something instead of being attached to what they feel. Right. And so in the chillness room, we can have a really dope conversation, and you can have an opinion and I can have an opinion, and we could be strongly connected to those opinions and still have a lovely conversation by asking each other questions and staying open-minded. And that can be hard at first in some situations, depending upon how attached you are to the subject. You know, I'm not attached to cults. I'm not attached to whether someone belongs to a cult or gets out of a cult or escapes a cult or starts a cult. I really don't care. Because that's a part of their journey, and they get to do whatever they want to do. But I don't want anyone to get hurt. I wouldn't want anybody to, like this young lady, I'll follow you anywhere. Well, just think about it for like 5 or 10 minutes before you actually do, learn what their, modus operandi is before, maybe going into that situation. Just a double check, just a quick double check. We don't want like a Midsommar situation happening. Uh, and if you don't know what that movie is, I don't recommend it. Don't watch it. It's terrifying psychologically. Anyway. Mm. I'm so glad I got to spend some time with you in the chillness room today, talking about cults and whatnot. But it's really just connecting on the belief systems of folks. But I want to like go back. What's cool about this is that I want to go back and I want to have more of a conversation. I want to learn more about what she thinks about and how she feels about things. And also, too, she was absolutely lovely, just lovely. She had a lovely smile on her face like the whole time she's talking about cults, and it was wonderful. And so if you meet people along the way, Wayne Dyer says this, or said this, was you know be interested, not interesting. And I think that I want to adopt that more and more in my life, because people are very interesting, and they have, if they're willing to share. And I think that as an introvert, I'm not always quick to share, except for with you guys. But I think like 15 people listen to this, and I think that you all love me no matter what kind of nonsense I say. So I appreciate you deeply. um, but if I can be let in on people's worlds, it's pretty cool. And as a publisher, a book publisher of personal stories, I publish hundreds of different people's different types of stories, and hundreds of stories along the way, that I'm so fascinated by everybody's experience. You can have 16 personality types, but the way in which we live out our life with those different personalities, um, Myers-Briggs personality, I think it's 16. The way we live out our life from those different perspectives is so unique and so fascinating. And when we learn about how we're so unique and different and fascinating, we have that. And then you get to cultural things, and you get to language, and how people communicate, and all that stuff that goes beyond the different personality types. um, it's fascinating to see that there's so many things that are still just enduring, you know beyond how we perceive the world. And one of those things is unconditional love, and what it truly is, but what it means differently in different cultures and different things. So, but it still is the same thing. It is zero expectation from another person to do anything other than what they're doing. And you just simply love them no matter what. No matter what. I have a good friend of mine who I messaged for their birthday. And I said, hey, happy birthday, blah, 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 did my thing. And then I didn't hear from them for a little while. And I was like, didn't think anything of it. I just wanted them to know that I loved them, and that was it. And then I noticed that a gift they had given me, and I was like, oh yeah, let me take a picture of it because it's really beautiful. It's like gorgeous. These two crystal lotus flower uh, candle holders, absolutely gorgeous. And the light was hitting them so perfectly. And I just, polished them up and cleaned them up and did all this. And the light was just hitting them so beautiful. And I took a picture and I sent it to the friend who gave it to me. And they sent me a text back and said, I'm so sorry that I didn't text you. Thank you for my birthday wish. And I'm like, that's not why I gave you the birthday wish. I gave you the birthday wish because I wanted you to know that I love you. And you never, ever have to say anything. Now, I say that, but I will tell you, there are people that I would have expectations of. And guess what? That's not love. Does not mean loving them. So there are some people that are just in my world so stupidly easy to love. Stupidly easy to love. Like there are people that I just love to absolute bits. They cannot do anything wrong. I dare you to try to tell me they've done anything wrong. And I can't get there. I just can't get there. But then there's other people where I'm like, they messing up. Why are they messing up so bad? They're supposed to be doing this and that. So I am humbled yet again by my inability to be unconditionally loving as much as I'm humbled by my ability to be unconditionally loving. It's a case by case basis, but I don't think that's how it's supposed to work. So one day I'm going to get better at that, and then everyone will feel loved by me. But until then, I'll just do the best that I can and keep moving forward in the best way that I know how. So I hope that you do the same, my loves. I hope that you feel good today. I hope that you find some time in your chillness room today to just find some ease and comfort, and maybe become a little bit interested in what some people that you meet along the way have to say about what their experience is. Staying open, staying unattached to the best of your ability, and maybe learning a little something along the way. I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.